and I will not say from who, Dominic. No. Ms. Proud, you obviously know Mr. Astorino quite well. You worked on his campaign here. Every Republican I've talked to off camera, and even some on, all say, listen, if Rob wants this thing, maybe Ed Cox might be another one, but it is a very short roster here about people who would have a chance statewide. But then it begs the question, we've seen this before. I mean, Palladino, an embarrassment, okay? Forget about for the state, certainly for Republicans. But for a Republican to get through the primary process, Michael Long's a good friend to this show and stuff, but to get his blessing, you gotta be really conservative. And in a blue state with a Democratic registration advantage, isn't it like winning the battle but losing the war here if you got to go that far right in the primary?
Mike Long is a practical guy. He just endorsed Joe Lhota in the mayor's race, who is very liberal on social issues. So I think Mike has a lot of respect for Rob and what he's been able to do and how he's been able to govern. And we'll see what happens. You know, a lot of people are encouraging him to run. They like what he's done in Westchester. He's really been able to accomplish some great things, but we'll see what happens. I mean, everyone's out there in the press sort of speculating what was the conversation. You hear, you know, unnamed sources.
I do think it's funny that Andrew
over.
Cuomo said, this is what they did or didn't talk about.
Well,
usually you don't see
mean,
a Democratic governor tell what two Republicans said. But
Carl Palladino has been out there threatening to run on the conservative line, threatening to run to the right of whoever the Republican is.
And then he was also quoted saying that, you know, he likes Rob a lot and would back off if he ran. So I think,
but with that potential for a challenge out there, or at least to try to keep conservative voters, particularly upstate, in line and eager to vote, how does a Rob Astorino toe that line where he plays to conservative voters and tries to ease conservative fears, but also keeps himself eligible in the general election?
Well, I think having a unified party and having everyone coalesce behind him would play a role in his decision-making process.
What, if anything, did Chris Christie do for Republicans, Northeast Republicans, somebody who would want to seek statewide office? Because as much as some people say, oh, Christie's some super moderate, you look carefully at his positions. I mean, he's not for gay marriage. He fought the gun control bill. If you look at what even happened with the DREAM Act right now, he's protest. But yet, you know, he won going away in Jersey. If there's any kind of roadmap he gives, whether it's Rob or somebody else, what would it be?
Well, I think it's, you know, he has been very forthcoming and upfront about what he wanted to do, and he's very honest with people. And people may not agree with where he is on every position, but you always know you're going to get a straight answer from him, whether you like it or not. And I think people find that refreshing, especially when you hear all this rhetoric, especially coming out of Washington on both sides. So I think people, you know, appreciate that in their leaders.
But he broke ranks with national Republicans on a lot of things. You know, he took Republicans to task and he named names here with Rand Paul and the rest. I kind of think you almost have to do that if you're going to win by showing people who you're not as much as who you are.
Well, and I think he is a different kind of leader, and it's in that same vein. He says what he thinks. He doesn't mince words, and sometimes it ruffles feathers, but that's who he is. He's created this brand for himself,
and
it's
been. Guy
he is. Yeah, I'm not comparing Rob to Chris.
You said nicer guy. I'm glad that's the term you used, because it's one thing for him to be a nice guy. It's another thing, and run for Westchester County Executive.
I totally agree.
And you know, he's a great candidate, a great guy. But he's going up against an 800-pound gorilla that does not play. And Andrew Cuomo, anyone that gets in his way, unless you're Hillary Clinton, good luck.
And I totally agree. And the other point is, Rob Astorino did not run in a race that involved the city of New York. There's a huge segment, the biggest segment of voters, who are not going to find Rob Astorino, much as he ran a great campaign in Westchester. I give him credit. I worked hard against him. He won, he did very well. He's not going to win when you have the city of New York. He's not going to play well in the most intensely urban communities. He's not going to do well.
I disagree with you. In Westchester, he got 60% of the Hispanic vote. He has had huge support from the African-American community. He is someone that has reached out to these communities and built bridges, and I think, I'm not suggesting he would win New York City, but if you look at someone like Pataki, you know, if you can come out of the city with 30% and do well upstate and in the suburbs, you can win yourself a statewide election, and that's, you know, that's something that needs to be flushed out.
I think it's fair to say Noam Bramson and Andrew Cuomo two different kind of candidates, right?
And a low turnout election. A low turnout election.
That's night and day. And Andrew Cuomo is going to be, he's going to have a campaign war chest that's fully loaded. You're going to need a lot of money. Plus, he's going to have the state Democratic Party through the back door working with him. So Rob Astorino is a very attractive candidate who did extremely well with the minority communities. But it's another ball game when you're taking on Andrew Cuomo.
How soon, given the disadvantages that a Republican has statewide right now, do you almost have to decide you're going to do this to raise the money, to get out and gain name recognition, 62 counties here? It's different than for a Democrat. Republicans got to start this sooner than later, don't they?
Well, I mean, in the next several months, he needs to start looking at it, assessing fundraising and support.
I know
and
he's being asked. That much,
11 months?
yeah,
11
that
months
much
to
we all
election
know.
day.
Okay, when we come back here, listen, we talk a lot about politics and the back and forth and everything else, but let's be honest. That train wreck we saw in Washington, give credit where credit's due. Women are the one who finally brokered a deal right now, and a lot of people say if we had more of them in Washington, we got a lot more done. But also, we looked at some of the recent headlines this morning when we were putting together the show, and we said, imagine if it was a woman that was in the middle of these controversies. How would she be treated different? And is that part of the reason why so many women may not be considering a run for office here, unlike the person on your screen? We'll be right back. Stay with us.